reaction to the players' announcement they will disband and pursue antitrust action?
Well, actually, at a bargaining session in February of 2010, their attorney, Jeffrey Kessler, said to us, all those assembled, that if they didn't get the proposal they liked from us, if they didn't like our proposal, that he threatened that they would disclaim and sue us. That threat has been ongoing until now, despite the NBA's good faith offer. The players, by doing this action, walked away from an offer that would have not had a rollback of existing contracts. It would have had guaranteed contracts. It would have taken the average player salary from somewhere in the mid-$5 million range to between $7 and $8 million over the life of the deal. But apparently it was not to the liking of the players. We anticipated this. We filed an unfair labor practice charge with the National Labor Relations Board some time ago, saying that the threat of decertification and its use of a tactic, really, was causing the union not to negotiate in good faith. And we started a federal action against the union, saying that they were heading in this direction, refusing to bargain in good faith because they thought that they would be decertifying or disclaiming, and sue us in federal court. So there's an NLRB proceeding. There is a federal court action, both commenced and moving along. And frankly, by this, I would say, irresponsible action at this late date, Billy Hunter has decided to put the season in jeopardy and deprive his union members of an enormous payday.
How will this affect the chances of the season? Are you prepared to cancel more games at this point?
The calendar takes care of it by itself. We're not issuing idle threats. There's no, they're going to start a lawsuit. It's the very lawsuit that Mr. Kessler brought against the NFL in the Eighth Circuit, and which the court basically held for the NFL. So we don't even understand the strategy anymore, but that's what they're doing. And curiously, Mr. Boyes, who I understand has been retained by the Players Association, represented the NFL the NFL in the case out in Minnesota. So it gets stranger and stranger, and I think that the chances of the season slipping away from us and the players losing all that they have worked very hard to achieve, it's really a tragedy. It's really a tragedy.
How would you describe the advice the players are receiving from leadership?
Well, we had a revised proposal which met many of their concerns over a 2.5-year negotiating period. We had hoped that the executive committee and the players would have the good sense to put it to their membership, but they've decided, obviously having been hopped up by Mr. Hunter and the lawyers brought in, that this was a good negotiating tactic. That's all it is. This is a negotiating tactic. You don't get exactly the deal that you want. You disclaim interest and you sue. But it's not going to work. If they were going to do what they should have done a long time ago, then maybe we would have had a chance to save the season. But they seem hell-bent on self-destruction, and I think it's very sad.
They said they were not prepared to accept the ultimatum, and that is, many of the owners then said, well, you're going back to 47% if you don't accept this. It heads to the courts now, as we've discussed. What do you do next?
I must say that when you negotiate for 2.5 years and finally get to where the parties are, that's not an ultimatum. That's a proposal that's ready to be voted up or down. And we tried to move the union to focus on it, which they're obviously unwilling or unable to do. All we do next is we put our faith in the lawyers, and they'll be guaranteed years of litigation. And that's, so when someone says, what happens now, lots of paychecks keep getting missed from players, families, from those who are dependent upon the NBA for their living, both in arenas and in surrounding areas. And the union decided, in its infinite wisdom, that the proposal would not be presented to the membership with a fair description, but they would do what they're doing now. Obviously, Mr. Kessler got his way, and we're about to go into the nuclear winter of the NBA.
Are there some owners who are happy that this deal was not accepted? Is there a split amongst the owners between the big market and small, as we have heard?
I would not say it's big versus small. I think there are some owners, not a majority, who thought that our offer had gone too much in the favor of the players, at 50-50, at no hard cap, at no absence of guaranteed contracts, and without the short contracts that we wanted and asked for. There were some owners that thought that we had gone too far, but I was confident that I could use my powers of persuasion to navigate through to an approval if the union said yes. But that's really academic now, because it looks like the 2011-12 season is really in jeopardy. And if I were a player in the NBA, one of the 450, I would be wondering what it is that Billy Hunter just did.
With all that said, and you've mentioned the players will be losing these paychecks, the owners will be losing money as well, but it sounds like you're banking on the owners being willing to wait out the players if it comes down to finances. Is that true?
I'm not banking on anything. The franchises will be here, and they're not going away. Players whose last year was this season will have their careers potentially end on this basis. And it's just a negotiating tactic. That's all that it is. That's what we alleged in front of the NLRB. This sham of magically we're taking the union and we're performing an act of magic and it'll become something else, and then we'll negotiate in a court settlement. It's just a big charade, and it's really irresponsible given the timing of it. It's okay to do it when you haven't lost a game, but to do it now, the union is ratcheting it up to, I guess, to see whether they can scare the NBA owners into something. That's not happening. What they've done is they've destroyed incredible value that would otherwise have gone to the union membership.
Knowing that these players will be losing paychecks, some the remainder of their careers, as you point out, is there at all an element of surprise? Are you surprised at all at their resolve?
I don't think it's resolve. I think it's bad advice that got them up. This is not about bad resolve. This is going to wind up being a very unwise decision that will not be classified historically as resolve. They've been badly misled.
Long term, what are the ramifications and what are your fears concerning both finances and also a fan base that enjoyed an incredible postseason last year?
Well, the fans can think that we were very close and the players decided to blow it up. And I understand they'll be angry with both sides. And if there ever is a deal, because there usually is one, we'll do what we can to win them back. And that's all I can say. I'm sorry. I wish the union hadn't done this, but it's their choice. Their timing is not very good, and their rhetoric is almost humorous in terms of the magical trick that's going to allow them to improve their negotiating position.
On a very different note, but on a personal note for you yourself, Commissioner Stern, as a fan and someone who's protected this sport for decades now, how does this affect you today on a personal level?
Well, as I said, I'm saddened. I was optimistic that if the union had put this out to a vote of its membership, we all would have had a 72-game season for the 11-12 season, where our players would be operating under a very fair arrangement that had guaranteed contracts, had their salaries going up to $8 million, and didn't have a hard cap. Apparently, it's not to be. And so, as a personal matter, as a fan, and as someone who has devoted his entire career to growing the pie for the benefit of our players and owners, and keeping the game at a certain level for the benefit of our fans, I'm terribly disappointed.
And finally,
but having said that, we knew this was coming. We filed the unfair labor practice charge. We commenced the federal litigation. We're familiar with the playbook, even if it's poorly timed.
And finally, before I let you go, I know you said the calendar takes care of itself, but really the fans want to know, well, will my Christmas Day tickets be worth anything? When can we look for you to start canceling games or calling it a season?
I would say it takes 30 days for us to go from now to a deal. Our fans are amongst the most intelligent fans in the world, and they can look at the calendar the way I can. We need a deal 30 days before we start. That's just the reality of it.
NBA Commissioner David Stern.
And now we have now there's no one to negotiate with because the union's not there, and we won't be doing anything soon with respect to their lawyers, whoever their lawyers may be.